After this episode, I want to be fully equipped to yell and boo at the refs along with the rest of the crowd.
It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
Welcome back to SportSense, everyone. This is the show where we break down sports news for sports noobs. I'm Cooper Epps, here to learn about sports and sports culture from my dad, James Epps. Let's get into it. This is season 2, episode 28. Welcome back. All right, Dad, how are you doing over there?
Good. Weather's beautiful. It's exciting. Spring is hitting.
You're in basketball country, wouldn't you say?
College basketball, yes.
Okay,
college and
basketball
high school,
country.
but especially college basketball. Absolutely. We think the greatest state in the country. And it's kind of hard to dispute that. But
I know, and I know you grew up obsessed with it, and so you're usually my guy to explain the sports stuff to me week to week, but especially I knew you would be able to be perfect for explaining to me the basics of basketball. How does basketball work? Okay, so this is part 1 of 2, maybe even 3 if we need to dive into a third episode of this. But my in-laws have taken me to several basketball games over the years, actually quite a few. They love going to college basketball out here. And every time I go, there's always something I don't understand. And I've learned to kind of engage with it and enjoy it a little bit. But then there's always just something that happens that I'm like, sorry, father-in-law, could you explain that to me? And my wife is usually confused too. And so the biggest cause of that confusion is when it comes to fouls and violations, which I've learned those are 2 different things that I'd like you to break down for us. I think most people understand the basic rules of basketball, right? Everybody knows what a 2-pointer shot is and a 3-pointer. You got to dribble the whole time and stuff. So there's like common knowledge that everybody understands. So That's why we're going to jump straight into what are the things you're not allowed to do that stop the game or give the ball to the other team or whatever. So after this episode, I want to be fully equipped to yell and boo at the refs along with the rest of the crowd whenever a bad call gets made.
You want the proper timing, right?
Yeah. So I don't want to just be a social booer.
You don't want to yell at the refs and everybody else is quiet because
right.
So sounds good. Well, we can do that. We can do that.
All right. Well, before we get into it, I know you had one note. You were excited about some NFL stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I always talk about how as a business, the NFL are the masters at staying in the news almost all 12 months of the year. It's crazy, even the dead of summer. But last week they call it the NFL Combine, and you had to be invited to it. And it's the combines, and they're always for the last many, many years been in Indianapolis at Indianapolis Colts facility, and it's so cool. So they invite the ones that will be drafted by the NFL this summer or in a few weeks, the ones that will guaranteed to be drafted probably. So your top prospects get invited. So if you're not familiar with the NFL Combine, that's it. Some people call it the Underwear Olympics. That's kind of funny. I threw that in there because they wear shorts and just, some sort of tank tops, right? All their muscles rip, except for the few quarterbacks that have a little punch in the belly. The rest of them are all ripped. It's unbelievable. So you have quarterbacks they throw to receivers running routes. You have running backs run, but they also all do a 40-yard dash, the old 40-yard dash. And there's certain records that have been held, and it's pretty crazy. But they did hit it. So that's one of the first ones everybody looks at. So this week.
So basically this is where recruiters, is that what you call them?
So all your NFL teams, mostly every coach and general manager and others are there. So and
this is just a demonstration of everybody's abilities, so they know who they want.
But the big thing is they also go through rounds of in-person interviews. With each of those teams, yes.
Is it kind of like informal, like on the field or on the sidelines?
No. They've got rooms, and you go and
it's like a business interview or a job interview.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, you just identified it. I was listening to a former pro quarterback today talking on Colin Cowherd's show. He goes, "That's exactly." He says some people criticize it, but this is their first real job interview. So what they say, and apparently, see, that's the humor I was trying to bring to you. There's a little humor, and then I thought it was kind of a good story in there too. Humor is the joke. To a little bit of the joke is they go in. Some teams ask some way wacky questions, just to
Okay.
see how they respond, right? Well,
Sure.
you know how we talked about who's the number one draft? Who's Indiana? What's his name? I'll go blank.
Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, Fernando. Fernando he's too honest. Everybody was asking him. He goes, "Well, I won't tell you what team, but I had a team basically say you might want to go get arrested so your stock will drop, and we'll draft you at whatever pick they are." He goes, "I thought that was odd advice for
Yeah.
anyway."
For a
So that was
professional organization.
That's one of the funny things that came out, right? But sometimes they'll
Okay.
ask really weird questions and funny questions and crazy. But it is so it plays an important role, I think, and most teams benefit. The only thing I will say, and this is, I don't understand a little bit of the cruelty of people. You probably will not catch this person's name, but he's a receiver, and he'd been at NC State a couple of years. KC, not like our Casey, but the letters K and C. Concepcion, do you remember? Anyway, really good receiver. Well, he went to Texas A&M. He left state last year. Much bigger paycheck, much bigger exposure, and he was great. He did great. So great that he got invited to the combine, and he's going to be drafted pretty high, fairly high, I guess. But he's going to do well. He's going to be an NFL, as they say, he's going to play on Sunday. Well, I didn't know this about him. Even at state, they didn't talk about it. But he's a stutterer. He stutters.
Oh, interesting.
And I guess when he came public there, they asked him to do a little public thing, and he spoke. Well, he stuttered.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him about it. He goes, "I've stuttered. This is all I know. The way I talk is the way I talk." He says, "Since I was little, it's the way I am. And I've worked at it and I've improved, but this is the way I am." And apparently after his interview, people online, some of them were just making fun of him. It was not nice.
Jeez.
And he just says, he said, "I appreciate all the supporting, messages I've gotten. And, he said, I hope to be, the reason I'm doing this interview," he's stuttering, "is I want kids and other, say, hey, we're a support group for each other out here." And, so anyway, being that was
That's
NC
really cool.
State guy we pulled for, I thought he handled it extremely well and represented that faction. There's I think 3 million in the U.S., 80 million worldwide that are identified as stutterers. And I have a good friend who's stuttered. He's worked hard at it all his life. I think that I came out that was heartwarming to me because we pulled for him. We knew him here in Raleigh at NC State, and I thought he just handled himself so well. All right, let's go to basketball.
Cool. That's really cool. So NFL Combine, you called it the Underwear Olympics. Is that what it was?
I did, but that's what they joke
say
about it because they don't wear pads, they don't wear helmets. It's just their shorts and a real tight shirt, and they all look great. As they say, they all look like number one draft picks physically. It seems like.
So depending who you are, it could be just a fun thing to tune into, just for some eye candy.
Gotta wait for next year, but yes. You can go back and see the highlights this year. Well, I was going to tell you, one guy ran the 40 at 4.29, which is not quite a record, but it's close. That's so fast it blows your mind.
Like 10 yards per second almost.
I mean, it's crazy. And then they have how high they can jump. They do crazy bench pressing of 225. How many you could do? It's stuff like that. But anyway, all right, man.
Okay. Well, let's get into our basketball. So this episode idea was brought to me by Macy's. We would go to these games and, a play would get stopped, whistle would blow, refs would be yelled at, and we would just say, huh? And that's like half a game almost. I mean, there's constantly fouls in basketball, which is one of my complaints about it. But I'm hoping that maybe by understanding what the fouls are, that I can enjoy it a little bit more. In basketball, if you seem to even graze a guy with your fingertip, then it's a penalty. So, or a foul.
Not really, but we'll talk about that.
That's what I mean. That's just what it feels like on the surface. Not understanding what's going on.
Sometimes it is like that, but yes.
Yeah. So I looked up. There's different types of fouls, and I was wondering, Dad, if I could just ask you about each category, and you could maybe explain what it is.
Yep. Let's go with the basics here.
And maybe give us some examples. If you think of examples.
Sure.
I actually used AI to draft a list up if you can't think of any, but
stinking AI. I don't want to be replaced by AI. Don't drag his butt in here.
All right. Okay, so sorry. Hey, let's see how you do then. So my first question is, what is a personal foul? I feel like that's the term I hear the most in regard to fouls in basketball.
Well, personal foul is what every foul starts off to be, no matter what. It's an individual that fouls another player, right? So it's his personal foul. And let's start with that. So it's personal, and I'll tell you the difference between that. Why would you call it personal foul? Because everybody's going to get a foul. It's one person. One person is going to get a foul, not two people. Well,
Right.
there can be offsetting. But anyway, for one person's foul, the reason it's called personal is because there's also a continuous calculation and addition of and tracking of team fouls. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And you have it somewhere on, well, you don't have it on, but they're team fouls. I wrote that down. So personal foul is anywhere where I'm on defense. Oh, it can be offense. I'll tell you how that happens. I'm on and you, a player's dribbling up and you come up and you grab his arm, you bump him, you knock him down, you slap his hand trying to steal the ball. That's a personal foul, right? Any kind of engagement where you're impeding his progress or not allowing him to move, you grab or you even kick. Anything that has a physical contact that mostly impedes him. What you should be seeing that should cause you some confusion at times is they won't call a foul when you see somebody, if their feet are squared and they're bodied up and they kind of they're pushing either body or they put their hand check, they call it a hand check, a little bit of hand on their back. And the problem is with all these fouls, Cooper, it's subjective to the referee, the referee team that's there, the three refs that are on. There's three refs on the floor. And it's kind of, they determine how they're calling. Are they calling, as they say, tight, meaning very picky, ticky-tack almost, where, like you said, a finger grazes them and they call a foul, or are they letting them bang around pretty good? It's a big difference between bodies like what I used to teach you on offense and defense, how you had to get a rebound, right? You had to get in, box people out, block them out. Well, that physical contact is happening. It gets to be real subjective did I shove him out of the way 10 feet and knock him to the ground? Well, that's going to be a personal foul. Or did he just climb my back, hand on my head, dragging me off trying to get the ball? That's going to be over the back foul, personal foul. So all those are personal fouls. It's mostly if you impede the player. He doesn't have to have the ball, by the way. It could be, the ball could be on the other side of the court and he's trying to make a break to the basket and he's beat me and I grab him, right?
Okay.
I grab his shorts, I grab his arm because I said, oops, I am beat. I got to do something. Hope the refs don't see it. So that would be a personal foul. So he doesn't have to have the ball. So it's really impeding or blocking or grabbing or stopping a player from making a move to where he wants to go. It could be tripping. It could be tripping by accident or on purpose. It doesn't matter. If you trip an offensive player and they go down, or even a defensive, but it would be a personal foul. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you taught me when I played basketball as a kid to bend my knees, stick my butt out, and kind of basically literally butt people out of my way.
When you're blocking out, when you're trying to get a rebound.
I'm trying to get a rebound.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of that allowed. I said it's subjective, right?
Okay.
The refs, that's my point. It's subjective. A proper block. You have you as a defender. In this case, you don't have the ball. You're blocking out, trying to get a rebound, a defensive rebound. You're allowed a certain amount of space right where you are. That's what I said. But if you start shoving them several feet back, I don't know what the subjective is on that ref that night, but you could be called for a foul. Or if the guy jumps on your back, it could be over the back, foul on him. So it is very subjective and frustrating, I think, as a fan, when you watch some of those activities.
Is it more common to get a foul as a defensive player?
Yes, much more common. Offensive fouls generally come in two forms. One, you're driving to the basket, and the defender is, as they say, planted and waiting on you and is there before your foot leaves the floor. If you leave the floor and the defender slides under, this is where you're talking about getting all the details. If you're going for a layup and you left the floor and a defender slides in, then it's going to be a foul on the defender because you've taken away. You got to allow that player to have room to land.
Or else you could flip him over.
But if you're already in this position and then he jumps into you, it's going to be an offense. They call it an offensive foul. It's a personal foul, but it's an offensive personal foul. So that's the one way. The other way is, what else did I teach you? Pick and roll on offense, right? Pick and roll.
Where you block the defender, right? So that your teammate can take the ball the other direction.
Yes. Or just make a route, run a play the other direction. That one also gets called sometimes because if you get there late or you push or put your hands out on that player, sometimes on offense, they'll call that as a foul on you, the one trying to make the pick if you don't do it properly. So those are all personal fouls.
But most fouls in basketball happen when a defender is trying to stop the offense's progression towards
the majority
scoring
of them. Yes,
okay.
The majority.
Yeah, go
personal
ahead.
foul. So let's just differentiate. So people say, why do they say personal foul? That doesn't make sense. It's personal. It's one person. You're always going to be one person making a foul. There's not like three of you gang up on foul and they give everybody all fouls. It's going to be one person with a personal foul. It's because team fouls are calculated and kept track of. And this is where you start talking about, do you get to 1-1? So do you go to 1-1? What does that mean? So now,
team fouls are the total count of all the players' personal fouls.
And they only keep track in the men's is for college. And let's not talk pro today. Let's just talk college ready for March Madness, because there are some nuances and some differences. College, you have 2 halves for men. Don't ask why. Women play 4 quarters, but men play a half each. Whether you only keep that running. You keep the running team fouls just for that 1 half, but you keep personal foul calculations for the whole game.
Okay. And so what are the 2 consequences for either too many personal fouls on one player or too many team fouls total?
Let's talk about individually. So the personal fouls in college, you're allowed 5 personal fouls for the game. Upon receiving your 5th, you're out of the game. You don't get ejected. Back in. You're done. You're not ejected, but you have fouled out.
You're benched.
You're on the bench. The wording is fouled out. So he fouled out. I'm just trying to teach you. Fouled out. That's bad. Fouled so he doesn't get back in. He's got 5 personal fouls. NBA, it's 6, by the way, NBA, but that's one of the differences. 5. Now, but for the first half of the game, the reason they're keeping track of team fouls is because there's 2 measurements, 2 marks that are coming up. If your team gets to 7 personal fouls in 1 half, even if you were just trying to knock the ball out of a hand, they call a foul on you reaching in. That's one of the calls, reaching in. That player normally before you hit 7 fouls, you get the ball, they stop play, call a foul on you. It's assessed at the table with the refs, and then you take the ball out of bounds and you throw it back in. The offense throws it back in. The one that got fouled. Makes sense? You've seen that a million times, right?
Yeah.
Foul called. It's on number 5. Go over there and he accumulates his first foul. Number 5 has 1 foul. Team has 1 team foul. And then they take the ball out of bounds, throw it back in, and begin play again, right? That's how that sequence works. Once it hits 7 fouls, they stop play and they don't throw the ball in. They now go to the free throw line.
Okay.
And you get a 1-and-1. Do you remember what a 1-and-1 means?
Yeah, that's where the person fouled gets to shoot 1 free throw, and if they make it, they get to shoot another one, right?
Exactly. If they miss, it's a live ball, and you play and go on. So you don't want this. The wording is you want to make the front end of a 1-and-1.
Okay.
The front end of the 1-and-1. That's the first one. That gives you your second one.
Yeah.
Now, this got changed many years ago, but they added it. If your team is extra foul prone or the refs are going nuts on a given night, you get up to 10 fouls in a half. 10 fouls in a half.
Okay.
You then no longer have a 1-on-1. They call it bonus, and you get automatic 2 free throws.
Whether you make the first one or not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense? All right. So that's the reason you have personal fouls, which become accumulated to team fouls.
Cool. Okay.
Good?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Beginning of the second half, what happens to the team fouls? What did I tell you?
So they reset, right? So
go back to 0.
The count
Correct.
resets. Okay.
But their individual personal fouls,
that sticks. Yeah.
Sticks and goes through the end of the game.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Cool. Yeah, that's probably that's one of the biggest things that you enlightened me upon recently that I think helped me enjoy the game a little bit more.
Let's go to the next one because it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So there's
sequence.
Then there's 3 different types of fouls that they all count as personal fouls, but there's different types, right? So there's
correct.
So I found what am I Googling? I found there are shooting fouls, flagrant
AI
fouls.
and Googling. You're really getting that. You're doing good.
So there's shooting fouls, flagrant fouls, and technical fouls. So could you differentiate those for us and
real
tell us
quick?
What those mean?
Shooting fouls easy. You're an offensive player. You're going up for a shot, and you're fouled on the shot, and
so somebody might whack that person's arm that they're trying to shoot.
And if you miss your shot and they fouled you, it's called a shooting foul. You get 2 shots, 2 free throws, 2 free throws. That's just that simple. They do call it. Yep.
But aren't there some where you get 3 if they're trying
Okay,
to shoot a
so
three-pointer?
I was just going to say, so it's called an.
Okay.
So yes, if you shoot, that's if you're shooting inside the arc. If you shoot outside the arc, a 3-pointer, you get 3 free throws. Correct.
Okay.
Now you've got same ability. If you shoot a 3-pointer or a 2-pointer and you get fouled and you make the shot, they call it an and one, AND1, and one. That's one of those slang. You know, you'll hear kids scream at their fan, and one.
Yeah, and that was like a big brand when I was growing up too, like
right.
in the 90s.
And he makes the basket, right? And he's still fouled. They blow the whistle, he's fouled, but he also makes the basket. He or she makes the basket. And that's an and one. So if it's a 2-pointer, a 2-point shot, you could get 3 points. If it's a 3-point shot, you make it and get fouled. Crazy enough, you could have a 4-point play.
Okay, so you only get if you do make it, you only get 1 free throw afterwards.
Correct, because you made it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then so that's true of 2-pointer or a 3-pointer.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
So that's the shooting foul. That's easy. Flagrant foul is again subjective to the refs, but that's an egregious foul. And the perfect example is a breakaway layup. The defender's chasing him down, and the guy goes for layup, and he basically puts both arms up and bodies and basically takes him down to the ground, body slams. I mean, or really potentially can injure the player.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a
dangerous move.
Yeah, and they have a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2 now. So the refs will go back to this stops. They'll blow with. Oh, and so you don't have it in here, but before the flagrant foul, there's something called an intentional foul.
Okay.
And they cross their arms, intentional foul. That means that somebody's running down and it's like the game's getting ready. If he makes a layup, they're going to lose. And he gets it and he just grabs his shorts but just doesn't give them a chance. Or he goes up with them and just hugs them. Doesn't try to wipe them out and kill. But clearly it's called an intentional foul. That grabs them. That's an automatic 2 free throws.
Okay.
Nothing bad. You didn't do anything really bad. You didn't try to hurt them. So stick that intentional foul between a regular foul and a flagrant foul is an intentional. I think the best way to get it, like I said, grab his britches. Don't let him go. Don't let him get near the basket. Yeah. And they're going to foul 2 shots, right? That's it.
So, okay, all of these so far, all these different types of fouls, do they all, it sounds like there's differing degrees of severity, but kind of the same consequences?
Well, no, because once you enter, so it's either one shot it's either 1 and 1 possibly, or no. Remember, you might not shooting any free throws up to the first 6 free fouls.
Sure.
So the consequence is only really you got to go out of bounds and you got a personal foul on yourself and 1 team foul.
Yeah,
it's not too severe, right?
But like a flagrant foul is like, oh, they might be trying to injure somebody.
Yeah, they're going to be more than likely eject. I can't remember if they're automatic ejection for flagrant 1 or flagrant 2. It just means it's that much more severe. And sometimes the refs have to go to their video and see it. Really see slow motion, as we've talked about, makes it look a lot worse usually.
Right.
It looks like the guy's going to brought out a hatchet and a knife and everything in slow motion. It looks like he's going to try to kill him. But most flagrant fouls, I'm not sure, maybe all of them result in an ejection. I know a flagrant 2 results in an ejection of the game. But any of those flagrant fouls are 1 technical. So that's it. Just think of a foul that could hurt somebody, and there's 2 levels, right? It's really intentional. Okay. So, and that usually takes nowadays. That's what it takes generally is a review of that to determine how serious.
Google confirms what you just said. Flagrant 1 does not cause an immediate ejection, but if they commit 2 of those in the same game, then yes. And if you commit a flagrant 2, then you immediately get ejected.
So in all that said, there is addition. You know how you asked about penalty. So there is an additional penalty to that flagrant. Is your teammate will get to shoot 2 free throws, and you get the ball back.
Okay.
They don't. The other team does not get the ball, so it's costly. You do not want, and that includes an intentional foul too. That's why you don't want to do too many intentionals, because you're saving the basket, but they're going to get the ball back. You're going to shoot free throws to get the ball back. It could
hurt.
Yeah. So that's the punitive nature of the fouls. There are penalties that are greater than just a plain foul. Like I said, you can shoot 2 free throws and get the ball back. And then so that's all again.
And that brings us to the technical, right? So
the technical foul can just be, so that's what's different about that. The technical foul now can be assessed to more than the players on the court. We'll talk about it. So it can here are your target markets for the technical foul. It could be the player on the court. It could be a coach or any coach on the sideline, any player on the bench on the sideline, or the whole bench. They all can get technical fouls for misbehaving during the game. And so that is heavily, you watch enough games and you think, and you hear from refs. And again, I have a pretty darn good friend I've known for 30-something years who was a NCAA ref for basketball. And there's definitely, each ref has their own little code, but most of them kind of have the same feel. You wonder why they stand there and the coaches look like they're screaming, like their vessels are bursting. They're screaming at them. Not like they're not. They're screaming at them. But most time you'll see a ref just kind of look straight and he'll maybe put his hand up and say, okay, that's enough. But there's some key words. I don't know what they all are, but I know if it's say something about their mother maybe, or certain curse word that gets real personal, or they threaten, then you'll see them automatically turn and put a T up. Or they've been yelling at them all night and it's getting towards the end of the game and they've warned them like 5 times and he comes after the ref again. Very subjective. But most coaches know what, like there's some professional coaches in NBA. There's been years where they want to get thrown out early to whatever, make a point with the ref, make a point with the team, and they know what to say. There's all of a sudden you'll see them just look like they're talking to him, and all of a sudden you see a tee up and he's out of here. Throw him out. So there's some real code words. I don't know what they all are, but very specific words. But again, that's a ref's subjective response to that. So for the non-player head coaches get the most of them, right? If they get 2, they're thrown out.
It's basically personally offending the ref as the coach.
Yes, I mean, or a whole team, like some team on the bench, jump onto the court, and there's a little fracas happening, right? And they jump on the court and engage themselves. Well, they're going to get technical fouls and maybe even be ejected. So the technical foul covers all of it. The technical foul is you get 1 or 2 shots depending on who it's on, who the technical foul, free throws, and then you get the ball back. So technical foul is very punitive. You get to shoot free throws, and you get the ball back as for your side, your team. So that's the technical foul.
That can count towards your total team fouls, I imagine, right?
Yes, and to the individual foul. So if you're a player, to his total fouls. So if he had 3 fouls before that, and he gets in a fracas or he slams the ball down, they call it technical on him. Now he's got 4 personal fouls. No, so when you start accumulating fouls individually, we say, hey, first part of the game, you get 1 foul, they take the ball outside, no harm, right? The old joke, no harm, no foul. But this is, the harm is, let's say you got your superstar player, your best player on the team, and somehow in the first half, he picks up 3 fouls. Well, strategy changes. It all impacts the game. Head coach is going to pull that player out, put him on the bench, and protect him the rest of the first half because he can't afford to get him 4 fouls.
Yeah.
And then he puts them in the second half and says, man, don't be reaching. Don't do something stupid. Try not to get your 4th foul for a long time. Right?
Because then you're 1 away from getting ejected.
Yeah. And then you play.
I mean,
and once you have 4 fouls, you play mostly very different defense, right? You can't be as aggressive.
Way softer. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So so accumulation of the number of fouls changes strategy in the game. Yeah. So that you're always paying attention to that, because what you always hear me, or I'm looking, how many fouls has he got? What the heck? Oh no, shoot, he's got 3 already. Then you're as a fan, you're going
their play style. Okay.
It affects everything. Coach's strategy, play style. Okay.
Interesting. Hey, I got to ask, what is this word you're using? Fracas? Is that what you're saying?
Fracas. Yeah. Fracas.
Fracas. Oh, it's FRACAS.
CAS.
A noisy quarrel or brawl is what Merriam-Webster says. I have never heard that word in my life.
Really?
So thanks for at least I learned that today.
Now we got a new word I didn't know would be added to our lexicon.
Wow. Okay, so thank you.
A brouhaha. It's a brouhaha. I know you know what a brouhaha is.
I know that one. Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay.
You have brouhahas with your brother and the brothers in our family. We have brouhahas.
Wow. Well, okay, that actually it took me this entire episode for I'm finally feeling enlightened, and I see how, as individual players and the team collect fouls, how that drastically impacts the team and the way they play as the game goes on. That's actually really interesting.
Let's put the cherry on top, because you did good planning on this, but I want to put the cherry on top and we can wrap up. you want to know the difference between fouls and violations.
Yes.
So in basketball, it's real simple. A violation, there's multiples, but mostly the result of the violation is usually just a turn. It's called a turnover. You turn the ball over. Violation will be a player throwing the ball from out of bounds in, and his toe is on the line.
Yeah.
That breaks a rule. That's a violation. It's not a foul, but it's a violation. Ball turns over to the other team.
It's kind of like nobody's being hurt or impeded. It's just
no fouls are accumulated. But double dribble, travel, all the basics that you're familiar with, those are all violations. More than 3 seconds in the lane, which I don't know. They don't halfway call some games. Sometimes they do. That's a violation. Going up and knocking a ball, the guy knocks it off as it's going into the rim. That's goaltending, which is a violation. So it's so goaltending is automatic 2-point for the offensive player and team who shot it, but it's nothing punitive to the player other than, it's a violation and the basket counts and you get the ball and keep going. So there's all sorts of violations like that. Those are the biggies. I'm trying to think of, those are the biggies, but they're violations. They're not fouls. They're not punitive in the sense. Punitive nature is you usually lose possession of the ball. It was your ball. You did something. You traveled. You stayed too long in the lane. You threw the ball in, stepping on the line. You lose your opportunity to score. You go back on defense. Other team gets possession of the ball. That's the ending result of violations.
Okay.
Right. There's nothing terribly punitive, but you don't like turnovers, like you don't like giving the ball over.
So like if you do commit one of those violations, the ball goes to the other team, right?
It always goes to the other team. You commit a violation, they always get the ball. That's the punitive part.
Okay. Let me just be extra clear, just to finish off the episode, that a violation is just breaking a basketball rule. You step too many times without dribbling. You hit the ball as it was about to fall into the net or whatever. But a foul, I get that it's impeding another player, and that typically looks like you're saying pushes, shoves,
physical contact.
Any physical contact.
Not any, but but the one that impedes.
It impedes their shot or their ability to move down the court, right?
Right.
Okay. It's basically it's basically you're asking refs to be like judges. It's like you're like a judge in a court.
100%. 100%. Constantly.
Because it sounds like you're having to evaluate like intention and like its impact too. I don't know.
It usually has to do with positioning of where the defender's position. I will tell you, if you watch closely at the best shooters in all of basketball, they almost foul every time if you use what I just described to you. And that's their dribbling with their they're dribbling. So they're dribbling. If you could imagine it, if you can't see me, dribbling with the right hand, the defender's on their left side, right? And you've turned your body, what I used to try to teach you, turn the body away from the player a little bit so he can't reach in and steal it, right? So you got your body between him and the defender. The defender's got his hands up. He's moving his feet. He's doing all the right things. But if you sit there and you dribble and the intent, great shooters need a space, right? So they make a move and they're going up to shoot. If you watch them, most people watch the hand with the ball. Watch they call it their off hand, their other hand that's not dribbling the ball, that's getting ready to shoot. Watch that real quick. And you'll see them slam it into the defender's chest and push off a little bit. Oh. Now they do it a little bit low from the chest to under their chest, and you'll see that left hand go out. And they're trying to create just that split second more of spacing. So as they turn their body, go up and shoot, they get an open shot. They get space to shoot the ball. You watch all great shooters and you'll see them. And refs almost never call that. Never.
But it's once in a blue. Is it technically not allowed though?
It's a foul. I mean, you're shoving the guy to make room. Yeah, that should not be. And they get called once in a while. If they really push off badly and then go up, really obvious, they'll call an offensive foul. They call that it's a personal foul, but it's an offensive foul. But you watch that left hand, you see them push all the time. They don't get called. The best shooters never get called on that. Wow. But what I'm saying is, so there's physical contact, and defenders now are allowed to kind of, as they come backing you in, you're allowed to hold your ground and kind of push a little bit. So there's some contact allowed, but that's what I told you. Where does that, it's like if you could move the meter, where's the meter tonight? How much how much lower? And player, some of the refs will warn them ahead of time. Hey, we're going to be watching for a lot of that reaching. We're going to watch for, if you're bodying up too much, they might tell them. Or as soon as they start calling certain fouls, you go, oh shoot, I'm going to have to back off on my aggressiveness on some part of how my defense is. Right. Anyway.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a completely, perfectly beautiful, inexact science.
Yeah, that's way more subjective than I expected this episode to be. I thought you were going to have a little bit more hard and fast definitions for me, but wow. Yeah,
I've given you lots of hard and fast definitions too. Mostly the outcome of what gets called. But yes. Right.
But that's crazy. I mean, so I'm not going to lie. I'm walking away from this a little bit more empathetic, or at least maybe I don't want to yell and boo at the refs so much, because they have
an impossible job.
Yeah,
they really do. You look at the speed and the athleticism of these guys. I'm amazed how many, and now with replay, some of them, I am stunned. Watch the replay when the ball goes out of bounds, the ref calls it, and it's like, I think the last player's pinky to barely touch the ball. And they're slowing it down to microseconds, right?
Yeah.
It looks like he did it. Oh, I think it might be the other team's ball. I don't think you should review a lot of those, but I would say without question, the great majority of those close calls, like the ball's going out of bounds, multiple hands hit it, refs get it right. Stunningly, they get, and that's split. It's like baseball when they're running it out at first, and you got the first baseman stretching to get the ball, receive the ball, and the runner's flying, and they say the best umps in baseball, how they really make that call usually is they look, but they listen, because the thud of the bag sounds different than the pop of the glove.
Wow, yeah.
So if they hear the thud first and then pop, then they know he's safe. If they hear pop first, thud, he's out.
Crazy.
So, but with baseball, you kind of have that. Basketball, it's hard. And they take abuse from everybody. Nobody ever tells them they did a great job.
Yeah, that is utterly a thankless position.
You do not get into reffing if you think you need somebody to give you affirmations. You just have got to be confident enough and just deal with it. And you're going to, hey, what I used to tell my kids, all the ones I coach still, look, you make 10 mistakes a game. Refs are going to make some mistakes. We just have to live with it and move on. And it's the coach's job to say, hey, what about this call and what about that call? It's not, and I tell the players, you don't open your mouth to a ref or an umpire. That's not, you don't do that. You screw up enough playing, believe me. But anyway, so you should have greater empathy, I think, for the refs.
Cool.
We have a mutual friend. It's your brother's really good friend. We'll just call his first name Paul, because it's Paul. We've determined he'd be a great ref, because
it's all water on
he
his
does
back.
not care a lick who says what to him, no matter what. And he's very sports, intelligent and played college football and coached a ton.
Yeah.
So, but Keaton was saying that the other day. He needs to go into the reffing business.
It's a specific personality type.
It really does have to be.
That's really cool. Well, hey, we if Paul's willing, we ought to get him on the show. But that leads me into just a little teaser for our next episode, which is, this is part 1 of just understanding some basketball basics so that you can enjoy the game a little bit better if you have to watch one, or if you decide you want to start watching. Next week, I really want to ask Dad about team styles, like styles of play and strategies that maybe you employ during a game.
Also, you said player positions, right? Player positions.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That would go along with that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So get ready for that. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. All right, Dad. Thank you so much.
See you later.
SportSense.